Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today I have a recent capper. She is coming up on her 2-year anniversary in real estate. So everything is fresh in her mind. For those looking to get into real estate or just started, you need to tune in. She has the credentials to be a dental hygienist, but her life path has taken her to real estate. She is recently cast as part of a real estate reality show, which we'll talk about. Her motto is turning houses into homes. She is the agent that will provide high-class, personalized, and professional experience for your home buying and selling experience. Let's welcome Bailey Burnside to the show.
Hello.
Thank you. Welcome to the Real Estate Excellence. I'm glad you made it up today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm really curious because you're off to a great start in your career. You're coming up on that first renewal, your 2-year anniversary here, and where many have fallen out at this time. We statistically, it's roughly 80-something% are not going, that got in at the same time you did, are not going to be renewing with you.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we really want to reach out, which segments a little bit. Those who are listening to this live, it's October 14th. Tomorrow we have Ricky Carruth, and one of his passions that he'll talk. You're going tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
One of the things he's talking about, what I talked about when I had him on the podcast, is how to like dull that number down. How can he? He did coaching for like 7 years. Took his experience, just tried to share it with others, just try to help other real estate agents.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll do a little bit about that with that today with what you're doing. And your quick success and capping your first year, and obviously you're at this point, I imagine you're not thinking about doing anything else but real estate.
Pretty much, yeah.
Raising your kids.
Right,
yeah. From that standpoint. All right. I always want to kick off the show here, and you have one of these, and you're just get my, because I always forget. Remy Graphics makes these mugs for me, these laser engraved mugs. Got the show logo, got Remy Graphics on the back. There, it's in there for you. They will do other laser engraved gifts. You have to go to remygraphics.com, they will do one-offs. So if you're looking for just maybe 1 or 2 mugs for your closing gifts, and personalize them, put your buyers or sellers' names on them, she will knock those out. You don't have to order a dozen or 2 dozen at a time. So and she is local here in Northeast Florida. So thank you, Remy Graphics. Where is Bailey from?
I am from Dallas, Texas. Born and raised. Yeah.
How long did you stay? Did you graduate high school and everything there?
Graduated high school. Fun fact, before the dental field, I was in the entertainment industry, which is what brought me to Florida. I got a record deal, and then just decided after 21 years of being in the entertainment industry that it was turning into not what it had been.
Right.
So it was getting a little dirtier.
So you started at a very young age.
Oh yeah, very young. My dad was in the entertainment industry as well. So
okay.
that's where I got it from.
Singing or acting?
Acting, singing, modeling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I stopped growing. So modeling was kind of out of.
So where in Florida would you signed this coming? I mean, obviously, first people that did you get a sign with Disney or something? What brought you? What's in Florida from the entertainment?
So there is right now a new documentary series on Netflix called This Is Pop. And I can't remember which episode it is, but I was signed back in the 90s. There was a Swiss label called Chiron. That's where the Backstreet Boys started, NSYNC, Britney Spears. Everybody was signed to Chiron, or at least worked with Chiron. Fast forward to a decade ago, they were bringing Chiron back with some of the same names from the 90s. So I worked with Tim Coons, who was one of the original producers. So I got signed to Chiron. They brought me out from Dallas to Orlando Winter Park, and that was that.
So that comes to a closure. You decide to go to school at this time, or are you going to school at the same time?
I had gone to school prior. So I graduated high school a year early. So I did my junior year at school with my senior year online at the same time. Graduated, went to the University of New Mexico for a semester, and then moved back home and went to community college. I don't have a degree.
Right.
I am one credit shy of my,
I know a few people like
associates or
that.
something.
One class away.
Yeah. So silly.
Yeah.
Should I finish? Yeah, I should have. But
So Dad's in the entertainment business. What was in the I assume obviously the dental area. Did you see other family members were in that field? No.
No. So I am a jack of all trades, master at none. I mean, like that is, the dental thing started, honestly, I was my high school sweetheart. His aunt was a pediatric a pediatric dentist, and she needed a new assistant.
Okay.
And so I was like, hey, what's the pay? I'll do it.
Right.
And she was willing to train me, like from zero knowledge. So I worked with her for about a year, and then I quit and moved to Florida.
But pursued finishing the degree in that, or not finishing the degree,
I was certified.
You were certified to do that.
Yeah.
All right. You do a couple other things to build up your experience, because I think it's important. And actually, I'm working on a talk about, looking. You said jack of all trades.
Yeah.
If people knew how many jobs I've had. Now I've been doing mortgages 19 plus years now, but whether it's working for different companies or different career things, and like I think a lot of us started off working in high school, doing different things, and we've had different experiences. Where some people are like, wow, like they've only done 1-2 things in their entire life. Right. Went from babysitting to whatever, walking out of college and having some job, and that's all they've been doing. So when you have these different experiences and can feed into it, and I think real estate agents, for the most part, not all, but for the most part, their previous experiences weigh a lot into being good at what they're doing in real estate.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, entertainment industry, you have to talk to a lot of random people, a lot at all times. And you also have to always be on. And I think that's a lot of real estate. You meet people for the first time. It's your first impression is quite literally everything when you meet them.
Yeah.
So,
the terms that come up, and I know, like I said, we're talking a little bit about Ricky since he's going to be here tomorrow, but I mean, and every agent that comes on is the relationship part, and being able to interact with people at different places they're at in their life, different places where they're at in the transaction.
Right.
Whether they're hot to trot, well, we need a house like in 30 days, or, we're just kind of, kicking the can what we might do. Like right now we're getting a little bit of that going on versus just when you probably first started 2 years ago. So we had, I wrote down your previous, was it Beau Coupe Homes?
Beau Coupe, yeah.
Yeah. And then Spirit America Productions, and then I just assume this is something you and your husband in Central Florida, jet ski and marine.
So
So
oh my gosh, this is funny. So Beau Coupe is a boutique in Dallas. That was my very first job. I honestly worked there my freshman year in high school. I was homeschooled that year.
Yeah.
So I worked at Beau Coupe, and I think I was 14. I don't even know if that's legal. Sorry, Beau Coupe. But I knew the owners, so I mean, it was. It wasn't like slave labor. But that was my first job. Then Spirit of America, I was a personal assistant. I swear I have done way too many things.
So it's not all on there LinkedIn.
It's really not. Spirit of America, personal assistant, which I loved. I loved that job. And then also did dental. I kept myself really busy.
Yeah.
I really did.
Well, what I didn't see on your LinkedIn was the acting and entertainment part. You kind of leave that off a little bit,
just because I don't know. I probably should add some of that now, since I don't work in retail anymore, or don't own a boat and jet ski company. But yeah, I mean, that was a huge part of my life. I think I really didn't want that to ever play into my actual professional career, because there's so many different thoughts behind that. Like, oh, she was in the entertainment industry. Like,
well, it's a tough industry,
right?
And I think the first impression of someone who's not in that personally. Now, my daughter's kind of in the drama. She is in drama. And she sings. She sings the national anthem. She sings. She's taking voice lessons and all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk about that after the show. But she hasn't taken it to the level like signing on and actually,
Right.
coming to Orlando to,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're in this, I'm going to call it an incubator.
Kind of.
And there's scrupulous characters
Yeah.
in that industry.
Yep.
Trying to take advantage of people at, whatever they can skim off the top on anyone's,
Well,
deal.
especially when you're a young female with
Yeah.
no representation. I mean, yeah.
Well, your dad, what your dad, you said your dad was in an entertainment business as well, doing kind of the same thing you were, or was
No,
what
he
kind
was a radio DJ and like TV personality.
Okay.
So he did radio and TV.
In Dallas?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was there. So yeah, what you were dealing with was something a little different.
Yeah.
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 But you start to, I would imagine, when you reflect back in that time, you can read some people now.
Oh yeah. And I mean,
you may not have known it right at that moment, but when
exactly.
you go back and review.
Now,
yeah.
I have a very good radar.
Yeah.
Very good. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, like really the entertainment industry and that whole part of me, I mean, like that is who I am to my core.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Right. So looking at some of these experiences, and then we'll get into why you got into real estate, just, in our conversations, anything like popped in your head, what are like 2 or 3 things that experiences you've taken that you might use on a daily basis, you may have reflected back on at some time, maybe during a particular deal you've had in the last 2 years, but some of your past experiences you've taken in real estate?
I mean, it's really just handling people.
Mm-hmm.
Every single customer is so different. And I don't know. I think like with dental or any of those past experiences, I mean, every person that I would talk to was a different person. And that is a daily thing in real estate. So
I'm gonna relate something to this. Go with me on this story here. Being in the dental office, obviously, you're up close and personal with people. They're on their back, and you're in their mouth poking around. Right? All that. Obviously, you had to practice that. Whether you went into practice, but to get your certification, you obviously had to practice on people. You realize. Everyone has teeth, and everyone has some screwed up. Yeah, exactly. How many do they have, right? Yeah, exactly. It can be different, but you come to these realizations that a lot of people have common issues.
Yeah.
Where some people think they're on an island. No, you're not. If you actually go and realize there's a lot of people that have this problem with their mouth, or that sort of thing, and when you start talking. Because you're up close and personal, sometimes you have to, I imagine you had to like ask some personal questions to these people, like how you take, you're digging into their mouth. You understand and have the ability and confidence when you're talking about their house.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So, I mean, you're saying, I would have to kind of press on certain health questions, and in real estate, I have to press on certain financial questions,
right?
Or things like that to really, ensure that they're in a place where they can buy, or ensure they comprehend what comes with selling a home, or, whatever.
Yeah. Well, just to go through that for the listeners, those things that you need to really poke on and prod on, obviously, is someone, pre-approved, right? You don't want to be wasting your time showing someone who can't even buy a house at that time, even if you could find the one that was perfect and right price and all that stuff. They can't. So you need to prod a little bit. Where's your money coming from? Right? That sort of thing, which I know a lot of agents. In 19 years, I can tell you, not every agent has the confidence. They don't even want to even mention finance, which is fine. I mean, they could turn them over. I personally, having, like I said, I worked at Quicken Loans for 8.5 years, and another couple of years at Loan Depot's call center. So talking to people on the phone, right there, hot on the spot. I'll go after those questions and solve them for agents. Right. But what I found is there's a good group of agents who are bashful on that, where I think the confidence prodding in someone's teeth versus poking a little bit polite. You're doing it politely because you're trying to lead them in the right path, right? Yeah.
And I mean, I only know how I do business. I've seen other agents, but I always ask, probably not on the first phone call. I probably don't ask the first time we talk. Actually, I definitely don't. But the second time, and it's usually the same day, but the second or third time we talk, I'll ask the questions about making sure they know the process to buy, or,
Right.
I mean, and that's a big thing right now. There's a lot of first-time buyers right now, a lot, and they really genuinely do not understand the process.
Yeah.
Like, three of my under contract buyers right now thought they would be transferring me the escrow money.
Well, this is a good topic right here, actually, because you being a new agent coming. Because I look at it at 19 years, what you just told me doesn't shock me, obviously, right?
Shocks me.
But yes, as a new agent coming in and don't really have that mentor that kind of already prepped you for, hey, these are things you're going to find out.
Yeah.
You're finding these things out as every transaction's different than the last one. The average American has no clue on how to buy a house or what's going to happen when you buy a house.
And I mean, I think back to 5 years ago when my husband and I bought the house we're in now, I did not know anything. I really didn't. I mean, like, even for our blue tape walk, it was new construction. Even for our blue tape walkthrough, like, I'll go home now and I'm like, how did I not notice that?
Right.
How the heck? And so I was that buyer 5 years ago, 6 years ago. But I guess, I don't know. I have a whole sheet that's like a pathway to home ownership with like every little thing. And I just recently started implementing that and sending it to every single person that contacts me.
So I imagine your conversation is evolving every transaction, what little bit, another line or another, hey, beware of this as you're discovering real estate. I'll use that. I won't use fumbling through, but a lot of times we are.
Every woman in my family is a realtor with the exception of my sister.
Okay.
So I grew up in real estate. I just didn't practice it.
Weren't paying attention.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, so that goes back to you had the Central Florida, which I imagine Central Florida meaning you're over in the Orlando area. What happens and what evolves you into taking up this career path of the other women in your family?
So glad you asked. So my husband was in the Army National Guard for 22 years. He just retired 2.5 years ago. While he was deployed, I was a stay-at-home mom. So we were going on almost 3 years of me being at home since I had my daughter. The last job I had while I was pregnant was in dental. And I was like, I know that I need to go back to work. Like, I, for myself, needed to go back to work. We didn't have to, but I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I do not want to go to a 9-to-5. Little did I know real estate is not a 9-to-5, nor is it I'm going to do whatever I want schedule.
Yeah.
It's like a 24/7 schedule. But I wouldn't change it. But I was like, I had already started at one point going through the course for real estate. I didn't finish it. And I was like, I could totally do that now. I could get it done. Let's do it. So I did it. Mm-hmm. And then I waited a couple months and then joined a brokerage. And I mean, it was really just kind of this is what I'm going to do. And now I love it.
For women who may be listening to this is, I mean, I've heard this before from other great real estate agents. They've raised their kids or got to the point, maybe they're getting off into school, and it's like, they are not, it takes a special person, I think, I'm going to call it the corporate wife, and that could go either way,
right.
A male or female, to stay home. You just visualize the house is spotless, all the beds are made, all that kind of stuff. That's a special mindset.
It is.
To take on.
Yeah.
And I imagine what you were describing was the thirst to interact with other adults.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I asked, I think I asked an adult, and I'm pretty sure it was one of my friends, but I said something like, do you need to go potty? And at that point I was like, okay, I have to talk to adults. I need to talk to more adults because this is terrifying.
That's funny. All right. So we were kind of mapping out things pre-show, things highlights we want to talk about, that first brokerage. Mm-hmm. All right. So I imagine you're living in St. Augustine at this time.
Right.
Okay. So do you go and talk to others? You're recruited. How are you end up with the DJ and Lindsay Realty?
So my mother-in-law is actually a broker in Orlando for her own brokerage. We can
Her
do
own
realty.
boutique
Yeah,
broker.
exactly. And I was like, I'm just gonna start with her. Why not? And then I want to say like a couple days later, after I was like, I made my decision.
So you sign up with her, but she's over in
I didn't sign anything yet.
Okay.
I wasn't going to do any signing until we got back from our cruise.
Okay.
Just to be on the safe side.
Right.
And again, like I didn't know how any of that worked either.
Right.
Like you take the course, but I don't know how any of that works. I got a call from, I'm pretty sure it was Brandy at DJ and Lindsay. And I was like, they don't take no for an answer. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll meet with you. Like, okay, all right, okay. I met with them.
Because she just saw you had passed your test.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, so they have the whole, yes. So she called, I talked to them, and I let them know, hey, probably won't sign with you. Probably going to go with my mother-in-law, but like, hey, we'll meet. I hadn't met with any other brokerage. Genuinely did not meet with anybody else. So I went in to meet with them, and Brandy wasn't part of that meeting. There was 2 other people, but by the end of it, I was like, ooh, I'm in a dilemma. Now I have to go tell my mother-in-law that I really don't want to sign with her. I love you, Gigi. And I was like, I'm in a dilemma now to tell my husband that I'm not going to sign with his mother. It was like, oh gosh, what am I going to do?
Well, let's dig into that a little bit now. You're 2 years out from that. I'm just going to guess, and you can correct me. My initial assumption is that she's running a brokerage. She's probably got a handful of good real estate agents out of there. She's not an incubator for new
Spot
green.
On. You are correct. Yeah, not at all. And again, I was naive to that. I didn't know the importance of that. I didn't know the importance of being at a brokerage where you can literally learn from being thrown in the deep end, essentially. And like DJ and Lindsay was a phenomenal starting point for me personally. Can't speak to anybody else, but they cover everything. And, you have mentors, you have any leadership you can go talk to about anything at any time. I can't tell you how many phone calls with customers I was on where I had a mentor standing in front of me with the customer on speakerphone and me looking at them like, what the heck do I say to this?
That's what we used to do at Quicken Loans, talking to people about refinancing their house and so forth, and having someone listening in, and not actually speaking in a 3-way, but they're hearing the call and telling us what to say.
But it's so beneficial for a new agent. And I don't know, it's been over a year since I've been at that brokerage, so I don't know if, things have changed or anything. I'm assuming probably not. But,
at least for the new people. Like I said, Brandy's been on the show and they're evolving because obviously I think they're coming to the realization that it's important to hold on to these people. Longevity. That's where because they are putting a lot of money into you, buying the leads and that kind of thing up front.
And tons of money.
And the training and the staff that they have on hand.
Right. And the training, it really is. It is exceptional training. And you experience, my mom has been in real estate for over 20 years. And within my first 6 months at DJ and Lindsay, she was like, Bailey, I think that you have experienced more in your first 6 months of real estate than I did in my first 10.
Yeah.
And like, that's a fact. I went through a lot. And part of that really does have to do with like who you are as an agent and how much you're hustling and grinding, which DJ and Lindsay, they expect you to do that. Like if you don't have the grind and the hustle, you should not go there at all. But if you are willing to work and make the phone calls and talk to people and stay on top of your tasks.
Now, for you, it sounds like you reaped the benefits.
Absolutely.
You were seeing a paycheck pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had my first transaction under contract with a buyer at 2 months in to starting with them. And then I did over 10 million in volume my first year in real estate. And
you're not from St. Augustine, so you're not like you had a huge warm circle.
Right.
Maybe some people, your husband interacted with, but yeah.
Yeah, no, actually my first listing, my husband's a builder. So my first listing, they start you on the buy side at DJ and Lindsay. And you have to hit a certain point to where they allow you to join the listing team. Well, thank you to my husband. I got to list one of his new construction homes. So I got to join that much quicker than most other agents. But yeah, they are very well rounded, and they know exactly what they're doing and how they're training. And
Yeah, no,
they know it works.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm a fan for the way they do business. I'm not saying it's the only way to do business, but for what they do, they're very focused on how they do it there.
They have it down to a science.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I reflect, but again, I go back to Quicken Loans. I can't. They've changed a ton lately because obviously there's not a lot of refinancing going on.
Right.
And when I started there, it's pretty much all they did was refinancing. Until it wasn't until after the collapse, and then they realized that hey, we need to do some purchase business as well as refi because the rates have dropped. Eventually, those rates are going to go up, and there's not going to be a lot of refis. Well, of course, that did last 10 years before or more before that the rates went up, but how they focus on mastering what they were doing. And again, they're always tweaking, always getting better, which I admire because they have a fairly young staff. It's not these 50-year-old people like, this is how you do it. Like if you go over to the Board of Realtors, you always got that guy in the back of the room with, this is how I do it. But he hasn't done a deal in
15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, every single board has that. Too. Every single one. That's funny.
But the importance of the at-bats, that's what I call it. The importance of, in your mother-in-law stated it so well there, the fact that you had learned so much in 6 months that, versus 10 years, because, I mean, explain the importance of actually doing it versus I'm sure you're at Keller Williams. You see a lot of these new agents going into that classroom and they're hearing it, but they ain't doing it.
Right. And so DJ and Lindsay, I mean, they really do. They throw you in with the sharks and they're there to help you, to keep it at bay. But everything that I learned, I'm trying to think, there was so many, I mean, the first 6 months were a whirlwind, but I'm trying to think. I mean, they just ensure that you are making the right decision. They require you to submit your offers for, review.
Quality control.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so smart. Now, if I had to do that right now, I would rip my hair out. But learning and having them point out, hey, you missed this. Hey, let's make this stronger. I can write an offer that kicks butt. Now. Yeah. At that point, I was like, what do you mean? What's a good offer? I don't know what that means. Like, how do we make it more? Tell me I didn't know.
Well, that's interesting. You say that because I've heard a situation here in the last week. You learned how to do it because the quality control is kicking it back to you. Like, that's not, so they're catching all your mistakes. So you're finding out real time, I'm not filling this out correctly. I didn't word this correctly.
I missed this. Yeah.
Where with the new post-NAR, National Association of Realtors, it's not, I'm told not to call it NAR, National Association of Realtors. They're, the new requirements, both on the buying and selling side, as far as the contracts are concerned and how you're asking for buyer compensation and all this jazz. You don't word it correctly, you might find out 2-3 weeks in the thing that, hey, you didn't ask for the buyer comp and the seller's done giving you whatever he's giving you.
Yep.
And now it's too late to ask for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 2 months ago, I had a closing and it ended up being a 4-hour closing because I had put, and it was my fault, and in the additional terms, I had put seller to cover buyer's closing costs, prepaids. No, I said buyer's closing costs and rate buy down. I didn't put in prepaids. I didn't even think it's included in closing costs, or so I thought.
The term is settlement cost.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I know that now.
Yeah.
And so.
But you just put a blanket term like that. No matter what it was, they were supposed to cover. You didn't actually say 2% or $1,000, or you didn't actually.
Correct. There was no X amount because we had already. The seller. It was a new construction home. The seller had agreed. Okay. It wasn't like a big name. The seller had agreed to, and seller/builder had agreed to pay all of the closing costs. And their rate buy down actually was cash, so all the closing costs. There was no rate buy down, but I didn't include prepaids. And the buyers had to bring. They ended up having to go get an additional, $300 from the bank.
Right.
To close.
Right.
And had I had I put prepaids, would have been done deal.
Or settlement costs instead of just cost.
Correct.
That's interesting that the builder in that case, it's funny, who caught that one?
I did.
You caught it.
At the closing table. Because I was like, what are you, like...
Because you saw the Alta and started to go through it, and you realized the prepaids were still outstanding.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so yeah, it was me and the title agent, and then also...
But the builder, in their mind, they knew what the deal was.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. They started to play hardball?
Yep. Right at the closing table. On day of closing.
This is what mind boggles me about this business sometimes. The egos get involved, right? They start going in and this is new construction. So it's not like they were doing a lot of, repairs because the AC is 3 years old or whatever, or 5 years old or something like that. This new stuff, and they're doing their patchwork, but that's standard procedure. Yeah. They've got that built into the whole deal to make sure everything's, occupiable. Right. And they knew the deal because you guys talked about it. Right. You leave one word, settlement, off there, and so they're chasing it instead of saying, hey, Bailey, we really appreciate it, we're going to cover you this time, bring us another customer.
Right.
I just don't get it.
You best believe I probably will not. I mean, that was a transaction from hell. Like, in every possible way. After the first showing, when, like, from going under contract to closing, hell.
Holding it together. Yeah.
And it wasn't the buyers.
Yeah.
Who I was representing.
Right.
It was, so, like, I mean, genuinely, if he had been like, hey, well, just, we're building a house right next door.
Bring us another customer. Yeah.
I would have been like, you got it.
Yeah.
At this point.
I don't think, well, it's amazing that because, in 20, even probably when you first started, the builders didn't even want to talk to you.
Right.
And now they're sponsoring your galas. Yeah. Now they're having you over in their models and all this other stuff. Yeah. And it just blows my mind. And to actually say that this has happened in the last few months, when like they're kissing butt every real estate. Why do they want to have a real estate agent say, you know what, I wouldn't bring someone over there because they were just hard to deal with. Right. And that some agents would be like, oh, okay, I'm going the other way.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, after we closed, I had mentioned it to another couple agents, and I was like, guys, I messed up this. And they were like, oh, we've worked with them. We won't ever do it again. Ah. So, I mean.
So now they got several agents talking stuff about them. Right. Yeah. I don't understand it. I mean, to me, every, well, I think as you found out, and this is just another topic that I bring up often, is have you discovered, or did you realize, because you had other ladies in your family that are in the business, that in the sense of marketing, the importance of that client that's actually in front of you at that moment in time?
The importance of them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
And how, whether they refer you someone next week or they refer you one person in the next 5 years, it's important to really focus in and deliver high level.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I had somebody who, actually one of my listings, I have a listing in Palm Coast right now, and the seller is a mortgage broker in Ohio. And I didn't know that when I first met with him and listed his house. And he was like, I've never had a realtor handle, I work with them all the time. Never had a realtor handle things like you do. You are few and far between because of the level that I provide. I mean, I went and pressure washed his front porch. Like, yeah, I will go the extra mile for anybody because it's their property, but like, it's also, I'm representing it. I'm representing you, and I want to do it the best way I can.
Well, you're in a large office now, yes. And I don't want to throw them under, but I don't think, although Russell's outstanding.
Russell's phenomenal.
There's always this fringe group. There has to be in every brokerage, especially when you have that many agents, right? Doing photos with their cell phone.
Yes.
Right. To take like half an hour or an hour, or in this case, probably a couple hours out of your day to put a power washer in your car, drive down there, power wash, come back. Now you got to change clothes and everything. That instead of going, well, I'm going to get the seller needs to pay for that. Okay. Well, by the time you get somebody out there, and then the seller's like, no, I don't want to spend any more money because you're hiring somebody to do a half an hour job, but they're so busy they got to charge you like they're doing a 5-hour job, and it's little things, picking weeds. My wife had an accolade. She was still picking weeds even while it was under contract. Yeah. Because again, that you go to do that final walkthrough, you just want it to go smoothly.
Exactly. And that's it. In my opinion, it's harder to be a listing agent than it is to be a buyer's agent. Granted, there's a lot of time wasted as a buyer's agent, but being a list, you have to, the property has to be maintained at all times. Yep. And partially, like for the Palm Coast listing, the seller's out of state, so nobody is there to maintain his property. And I'm not like he's paying for the yard, he's paying for all the other things. We had photos done, and I went back out, like after we got the photos back, I was like, we got to redo something. So I went and pressure washed, and then I rearranged a little bit and cleaned up a little more, and we retook the photos. Yeah. And that's not cheap. No. But I'm going to do it for you. He bought this house 2 years ago at $410. We have it listed at $390. He knows he's losing. Yeah. He's losing regardless. He's got to compensate you. He's got his own closing costs. Right. So he's losing, several tens of thousands of dollars there. And he knows. He knows that's he knew that was going to be the case already, but he would rather sell for less than continue paying property taxes for no reason. Well, yeah, it catches up to you eventually. Right. Yeah. It's just the separator. It's not rocket science. It's a separation between the great agents and those who are kind of struggling. It's like, okay, what are your last clients? What did you do to? I think you want to wow every client. Yeah. You want to find something that say, hey, I did this for you. Well, what's going to mean the most? That's what you have to find out as an agent. What minor action is going to mean the most to this specific customer? Mm-hmm. It can be anything, or something that you have in your grasp that you could use here to wow them. Yeah. To give you an example, even here at the bank, and I know other lenders do it too. If we've got someone that's on a marginal credit score, even if they it's the difference between 679 and 681. That's a big difference in lending. We're going to get you rescored. Let's figure out what credit card we need to pay down or whatever. And that little thing. And then, when you rescore someone, the lender has to pick that up. Right. We can't charge that to the client crazily, but we rescore them. But it's just that little wow that, hey, now their interest rate's a little better. Their closing costs are a little less, wherever effect it has on the deal. And that wows people. It does. In the look for those situations, I think a lot of people, I think the lawsuit, the settlement has been collateral damage, has been the credibility of the real estate professionals or real estate agents, and because there are so many agents out there looking to cut the corner. You're like, we used to call it at Quicken, we used to call it stepping over a quarter to pick up a nickel. And a lot of times it is that. It is that. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. To go do a power wash, just like you said, that guy gave you. Now he's going to go on Rate My Agent or wherever one of those things are, and you don't know when that lead's going to come because somebody read that review. Right. Yeah. Exactly. And plus, he works in the mortgage industry in Ohio. Maybe he'll send me somebody for Florida. That's right. He knows an agent. Somebody's talking. Yeah. Someone in their neighborhood selling their house, whatever. Yeah, because people are going to talk to him about real estate. Exactly. Yeah. What do you think were some of the? I like to get into your first year. You're there at DJ and Lindsay. You're coming in. They're holding you accountable, which accelerated your growth. Mm-hmm. What are some things that you learned, maybe even about yourself, but about the industry that you've taken directly from those experiences and you're still doing today now that you're basically managing yourself? Yeah. So when the lawsuit came out and all the new forms came out, all that stuff, something that they had us do at DJ and Lindsay was read every single page of the contract of a purchase and sale agreement. I want to say it was three times, in a row. Read it word for word, every single page. So I did the same thing with the new documents because that now that's ingrained in me. If I'm going to understand something, if I'm having somebody sign something, I need to understand it. And if I'm just like, oh, it's just another real estate document, like, I don't know what's in it.
Or the fact that, everyone's told, hey, take the contract class, take it several times, know how to read it upside down type of thing. You hear people telling you that.
Not everybody
but
does it.
you don't actually put it to the wall of how important it is until you're actually doing it enough times.
Well, and then, I mean, you have a customer that's like, hey, it says this here. And I'm like, oh, it does? I don't want to do that.
Right.
I want to know exactly what they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was something that I carried over from them. I think they trained us really well. They train their agents really well to be able to get past objections, any objection at all. And so sometimes, I mean, I will say sometimes I'm like, man, what would DJ do? Or what would Lindsay do? Or what would Brittany do? Or, anybody from mentorship over there. I'm like, how would they react to this? Because they have I'm still new. So I don't think I have a grit to me, but they're not scared of putting a customer in their place. Whereas I still kind of am. Like, I never want to be seen as disrespectful or anything like that. It's like, that's a huge fear of mine. I want everybody to know that I respect them.
Right.
But like, I'm now having to be much more direct and forward with certain customers, and that's been hard, but it's something that they instilled in me that I'm like, okay, I got to use this. I got to use it. Like, they want it sold, we got to get it sold.
Well, I mean, right now, you've probably experienced this a lot in the last year. A lot of these deals, like you said, holding them together. The negotiations, the seller's even picky.
Oof.
And you're trying to mediate these two parties, and hopefully you have an agent on the other side that's cooperating with you.
Ideally.
But there comes a point where it's like, hey, dude, you're arguing over $500 on a $500,000 home.
So silly.
And are you really ready to walk away from this? Because this is everything you wanted in the neighborhood, right? Bedroom, all those things you said you wanted. Sometimes you just got to reality check, slap them,
Right. And I will never forget, Brittany was like, when I was at DJ and Lindsay, Brittany was like, they're willing to walk away from this deal over $1,000. And I was like, oh, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And like, things like that I've never forgotten since I've been there.
Yeah.
And I'll say it to a customer now. I'm like, okay, this is $1,000. It's a lot of money. I know that. But in the grand scheme, is it? Like, you're purchasing a $349,000 house. They want $350,000. Pay the additional $1,000 and get your dream home.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. The check the egos at the door thing. Yeah. And right now there is a lot of egos, buyers, sellers, and then hopefully you don't have an agent on the other end with an ego, because then that becomes even another thorn in the side in a transaction negotiation. So we were talking earlier before the show. You're reaching a level now. You're getting busy. You're already over 9 million for the year so far. So you probably get, I don't know, you're trending like 11, 12. You're I don't know, with only it is October, almost November. Couple more months, couple more million, maybe
I have 8 pending transactions right now. So
8 pending.
8
wow,
pending.
Girl, you're on fire. All right, so. What are you doing? I imagine you've had, maybe you had to sit down with Russell. What are you doing to take some of the load off? Because now you're at maximum capacity at this point.
At this point, I am at maximum capacity. Yes, you're correct. I've considered a transaction coordinator. I honestly, full transparency, I need to go sit down with Russell. I haven't yet, because this whole, I've been busy all
Russell
year.
should be watching right now, so hopefully
Hi, Russell.
send her the
meeting.
Calendly invite. Yeah.
No, I do need to sit down with him for sure, but my busyness has kind of picked up over the last 2-3 months. So I've been busy, all year, but now I'm
accelerating. Yeah,
now I'm steadily busy.
Yeah.
It's not just like once every 2 months. So transaction coordinator would probably be great. I had a transaction coordinator for every transaction at DJ and Lindsay. So going from them to Keller and handling every single aspect of a transaction was culture shock. But now I know how to do it, and now I'm fine with delegating.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be totally down for a transaction coordinator. I also considered bringing on a buyer's agent, just Like,
I'm not a fan of that, but go ahead.
oh, okay. I'd like to hear more.
Well, again, having interviewed 200 plus of the top people in town, and I don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Right.
I don't even really need to get into the nuts and bolts. I'm a big fan of Melissa Ricks.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw how she does it now. She's probably changed it a little bit since I originally had it on. I know some of her people have come and gone, but I think you're the face.
Yeah.
You're the entertainer. You're the you need to be out there, showing the houses, doing the buyer consultations, seller consultations, doing those types of things. But it's all that other stuff that needs to go on. And to me, now having someone licensed to go sit an open house, open house. Yeah. But you know what? You've got a lot of people in that office already that could be assistants without calling them the Burnside team. I mean, you know what I mean? But for them, what Melissa did is she had a staff that took care of all that other stuff. So Melissa was able to go where other brokerages were hiring her to come in and speak. She was able to sit on panels. And so she was totally front facing on everything that she does. And obviously, I think when we go back to that question I asked you earlier, the importance of being focused on the person that's in front of you at the moment in time, the seller or buyer that you're working with. When you got someone, that virtual assistant or whoever has got your schedule.
That's true.
You now have you're not worried about that.
Yeah.
They're getting the calls and they're scheduling you. You're just doing what you do best, and that's having that personal interaction. That's what I think.
Russell, if you're watching, find me an executive assistant.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
my ops suite, and he knows those people there. My ops suite, I think, would probably be I'd be calling them if they're not listening right now.
Hashtag sponsor.
Maybe they might be there tomorrow at the Ricky Caruth and
There you go. Okay.
introduce you to them. But and I think it's so great about the industry is there's transaction coordinators that they're pay for play.
Yep,
It's not like you got to put them on a salary.
Right. Exactly.
So,
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now there's companies evolving that are providing experience and they're coaching them.
Right.
Just, here I'm at the bank. All my processes are owned by the bank, right? The bank's paying them their
Right.
salaries or benefits. You don't have to worry about it. You just pay them by the transaction.
Yeah.
So, I think that's where I would take it. That's where I would go. Yeah.
Transaction coordinator it is.
Well, I'm thinking, and again, I'm not, you're obviously killing it here. You got 8 transactions here closing out the, year. You're probably at a couple more before the end of December. But one, do you want to train someone? Do you want to bring on some, you know what I mean? And then do you, I know there's some partners that are actually literally sharing their commissions for the most part. So there's this thing going back and forth. I just think it sets up a situation where someone's not going to pull their weight.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
And that is my worst fear.
Yeah.
For
and then
sure.
then you go from being really good friends and so forth to having animosity.
I would never hire a friend.
Yeah.
Ever. I would never I really don't think I would ever have somebody come join if I were to start a team.
Mm-hmm.
If I asked somebody to join my team, I don't think it would be friends.
Well, you want to have that trust and credibility with them, though. So the friend makes it easy. You're like, well, I trust them; they're my friend.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Yeah, the mixing the business with that thing. I mean, you're certainly there to help them out, but I think you're still in a amazing learning stage as you are. You're just taking everything in at such a rapid pace that to try to turn around and start putting that out, I think that would take away from your energy.
That's true.
Yeah. That's my speech on that.
I appreciate that. No, that's a good insight. I appreciate that.
All right. So looking back, what are 2 or 3 things that you had done differently? Have you failed at anything? Done something like, oh man, I would never do that again?
I think that there are probably 2 customers that I just so badly wanted to make the transaction work, or at least just work with them. One of them was my very first $1 million buyer. And I was like, you want that sale, I wanted a $1 million transaction so bad. And this was month 7 or 6 or 7 of real estate. Oof.
You got to put that notch on your belt. You had the $1 million sale.
I was super excited. I was through mentorship, so I didn't have to do the mentorship splits at DJing. I was so excited. I don't care about any of that now. And if I could have done, like, I probably would have told these people to go kick rocks now. Like, if I met with them and I saw how they were acting now, no, I would not be their agent.
Well, with the business that you have in your back pocket, so to speak, they were obviously draining you.
Oh, were they? Yeah.
I mean, just they were buyers, they were sellers,
they were buyers.
They're buyers.
So they were selling in another state, and I noticed that realtor being completely done. And I was like, man, they shouldn't be acting like that. Blah, blah, blah. I don't blame him for being done. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of everything, I had to just be done too. There was no pleasing these people at all. And I realized that probably a month in to working with them.
Did they have the attitude like they were smarter than you?
No, it was just so entitled. These people would call me at like 10, 11 o'clock at night to like ask my opinion on things that their realtor was doing in that state to see if it was correct. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm not licensed there.
Right.
I can't speak for that agent. I can't speak for y'all. I can speak for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
You'd fire him today.
Yeah. I wouldn't even. I would probably show them and then be like, no, you can find another agent. Sorry. Or like refer them. Like,
well, and explain that to an agent might be listening, and they may have had some similar, maybe not as bad as this one, but how much that actually drained you and maybe have costed you other business.
Well, it didn't. I don't know if it cost me. Oh, it definitely.
With some business, you never know
Correct.
that you didn't get.
It definitely cost me other business, without a doubt, because I know they had a ton of people moving down here. But not only business, like they cost me over $2,500 because I spent my own money during the transaction. So before we closed and after we closed, to like try and keep these people happy. I ordered them custom curtains that matched the original seller's curtains. I paid for junk hauling. I paid for a deep cleaning. I paid for so much to try and keep these people happy. And nothing.
So when they're buying here now, the selling agent you're working with,
she was great.
These people walked out of the $1 million home and didn't clean it or anything.
So per Florida contract, which I'm sure you know, it only has to be broom swept. A house only has to be broom swept. Do I appreciate that as a realtor? No. You should clean your house after you move out. However, these sellers had 5 children. They homeschooled. Like they just needed out. They wanted out. It was a whole thing.
Well, it goes back again, going back to going above
dirty,
and beyond.
By the way, it was not dirty because I went there for the final walk. It was not dirty. It just wasn't up to these people's standards of clean.
Okay. Or just they wanted to say that it was professionally cleaned. Yeah. Yeah. But now when you're working with, in this situation with buyers, again, I think it's important that agents have that cleaning crew ready.
Without a doubt.
Because sure. How often is the house really professionally cleaned as even you would want it to move in?
Right.
Because, I mean, there's only one time when there's going to be nothing in that house where you can get to every corner.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really not often. I really don't think I don't think listing agents have things cleaned often at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think sellers do either. I think they do their own cleaning. They don't want to pay for it. I always, I will pay for cleaning. I will pay for move out cleaning for a seller or a buyer. Don't care. I will pay for it. It'll be part of my closing gift for you.
Right.
That way, everybody's happy.
Or let's take it to the other side, the selling side.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be more advantageous? Because I would guarantee if we surveyed the top, agents, top 200 agents in the area of personal production, obviously a lot of them are listers because listers last. That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow, Ricky Caruth, right? That when you're having that sit down, you're going through it and you say, hey, you're selling this $800 million home. Mm-hmm. Let's set aside, you need to set aside $500 or whatever. Go ahead and move out. Yeah. Let's just have it professionally cleaned, and then everyone, then they feel good. It's being taken
Right.
care of. They don't have to worry about
Right.
getting out, because they like, we're going to hire somebody anyway, but they don't think about it until after they move that last
Right.
box out. Go, oh, now we got to clean.
Yeah.
Well, you got a cleaning crew ready to jump in
Right.
there at that moment in time.
Yeah.
That should be really part of your selling.
I agree. You're
speech.
part of your listing package.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Whether you're paying for it or they are,
Right.
one way or another, that's what's going to happen. And I think it's a win-win. Especially, they talk about what agents make, and I think we're going to experience. Supposedly, one of the guys in the settlement of the NAR lawsuit, is whatever got millions, has now opened his own brokerage. That's a fixed rate, flat fee brokerage,
Right.
or something.
I did read about that.
What's his name? James. I forget. He talks about it. I could pick up his Instagram thing. But those guys are not going to do that, because they're
Right.
getting a flat fee.
Right.
They're getting, whether it's $1 million home or 500,000 or 300, they're getting the same amount. Where if you do want to deal in the luxury, which I know you're luxury certified, is it the price point or the service?
Both.
Both. Okay, I'll accept that answer. I can't stand the answer. It's not the price. It's not the price
both.
point.
Of course, it's the price
Yeah,
point.
I mean, that's why you want that luxury.
Yeah.
But if you're going to deal in that area, there's services, and I can name a few agents that the word concierge came up. You those people expect a concierge service. They want things taken care of. They want you to think of things they're not going to think about, and take care of them, and not really bother them with it.
Right.
Hey, I'm gonna make sure the house is clean. You guys move out, so just have the movers take everything out. Whatever. And what time they're gonna be done? Because I'm gonna have the cleaner right there to walk in.
Yeah.
To offer that kind of service, to be in that luxury market, which really, you're deep into St. Johns County. I mean, if you can find a $300,000 home, it's gone in minutes.
Yeah.
So I think I don't even, what is the average right now in St. John's? 4 is 4 something, 5 is
For the average purchase price or sale price, I want to say, is like $462.
Yeah, it'll be 500.
Yeah.
Within the year, I would guess. Especially if rates go down, you're going to see that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 bump, because the rates are lower.
Yep.
Type of thing. And so you're selling $500,000 homes.
Right.
You should be getting what the going rate is, and getting that full commission, because you're going to offer that service.
Right. Exactly. And that's something that a lot of mainly sellers don't comprehend, is like, yeah, I'm asking you for 3% or 6% total, but you're getting so much more with at least me as your listing agent versus a flat fee, who's not going to do anything but like list your property.
You're going to notice a lot of nickels and dimes.
Yeah.
A lot of change orders, right? The builders they love change
Yes.
orders.
Oh yes. Yeah. And like, I don't know, it just bothers me. Like, people are paying for the service that you're going to provide, and the expertise, not just the service, but like the knowledge.
So you're in a, like you said, you're absorbing everything like at a high level right now.
I'm a sponge. Yes.
And right in the middle of this, we have the settlement. Now you got to go out and do the buyer broker agreement. You actually have to do a lot of not necessarily selling, but you actually have to kind of show your value a little bit more. Think about what you were doing in maybe January, February, to how those presentations, listing or buying, are going now. Tell us, what kind of things are you doing differently? And maybe, I mean, I imagine you're evolving every time you sit down. You know what, I should mention this the next time, type of thing.
So I don't know how the majority of other agents are doing the buyer broker agreement. I do it specifically for the properties that I'm set to show, and I do it for like a 3-month timeline, because I don't want to lock in a buyer if we're not going to mesh. Like, if you don't like me,
right,
or if I'm not your favorite, and like I'm not dying to work with you, I'll work with anybody. But like, if they don't, if they're not meshing with me or just whatever, like, I don't want you to feel like we have to continue with a transaction, because we don't. There's going to be another agent that fits you.
Right.
So I don't like holding people on a tight time frame. Like, I'm not going to have you for a year, 6 months, 3 months max, 2 months really.
So are you going right for the full agreement, or are you doing, as David Heekin likes to call the dating, hey, I'm going to show you these 2 houses this weekend type of thing?
I do that. I'm gonna, let's talk about the houses you're going to see. We're going to see these 2-3 houses, but I don't get the document signed until the day before, maybe, or sometimes the morning of. And I kind of just explained to them, hey, the whole thing,
Yeah. Right.
the whole thing. Like this,
Do
I
you
had somebody ask me why they had to sign it when all I'm doing is just getting them into the house.
Well, that's kind of leads into my next question. What are some of the things you're talking about now with them? In like, some of the things we talked about, whether it's photos, or you're cleaning the house, it's, all these things below the surface that they don't see. Obviously that question had you just come back and spit some things back at him and explain to him what other things you're doing that obviously he's oblivious to.
Right.
So, I mean, is that changed now? You kind of taking a little more time, taking 5 or 10 minutes to go, hey, because I don't know, Russell said that, was it Russell? I think said there's like 180 something things or something on the list of all the different things that an agent,
like that. Yes. Like the services list, essentially. I will, what did I say? Basically, I'm trying to be an advocate for them, ensure that they're not being taken advantage of, or signing an incorrect document, or being provided with incorrect information. It's not hard for a seller to lie. It's also not hard for a buyer to lie, but like sellers,
there's no seller out here that's telling you every single thing that's going on and out, because no matter how small it may be,
right,
it's an excuse for a buyer to step out.
Exactly.
Oh, he replaced that. It's 2 years ago. Oh, I'm nervous about that.
Right.
My father-in-law said that's bad.
Father-in-law thing. Ooh, yes. But this specific buyer that was like, you're just opening doors for me. While we were at the showing, there was a patio, or like I'm blanking on what it's called, but it was like what?
Lanai?
Like a pergola, like a lanai, like a pergola type thing.
Right.
And it was attached to the house, which you have to have a permit for that. And he wasn't aware of that. And I was like, hey, let's see if it's permitted. And he's like, well, how are we going to do that? Don't worry, buddy. I got you. Let me look it up right here.
Right.
And he was like so shocked that I, A, knew it needed a permit, and B, was able to look it up. And I was like, see, I'm not just opening doors.
In your, again, you're fresh bringing all this stuff in, because I'm the people coming from out of state, like said, different states do stuff differently,
right,
especially if you got a New Yorker. Oh my God,
gosh.
They're like going to shoot themselves by the time they sell their house up there.
Yep.
In the process, where our process is much more efficient, but then they don't realization of the tax stamps, insurance,
right.
A lot of the insurance tricks, right? Flood is a big subject right now, obviously.
Yeah. We have a mandatory flood document that we have to have signed now.
Yeah, that's right. That just, I think that started October 1st.
I think so.
Yeah. You should be getting the flood insurance policy from the seller,
right,
so that because if you assume that, right, there's discounts involved,
right,
you assume that policy, you might save yourself thousands of dollars versus getting a fresh new one now. And then, obviously the insurance agent you're working with can look at what coverage is there and whatever they do. And the importance of having an insurance person in your back pocket. Someone coming from out of state, who do they know? Right. That knows Florida.
Right.
Let alone right down to St. Johns County,
yep,
the insurance policy that you need. We think, oh, just get homeowners insurance policy. A few years ago, that's the way we thought, right, but it's a lot different now.
There's a lot more to it.
Yeah. Especially if have you experienced anything in the beaches area? I would imagine more, or even in the shores where it floods often. The look back, right? They can only, if they had a $50,000 claim because of a flood somewhere, and the house is only, I forget what the actual computation are. My good friend Cindy Hayden, who was on NAR's insurance thing, I have her on occasionally, but the look back period on your claims, for these houses that are in the true flood zones, right, and if they've had so many claims on that house, you can't make another claim, right, and it might be just replacing the roof, which has nothing to do with flood.
Correct. Has to do with hurricanes, though.
Yeah, but because now they want you to go, you got to go in and you got to raise the elevation, right, and all this other stuff. And thing. Yeah, there's people in Florida in some of these situations from insurance that are having issues because the claims that have been made previously have maxed them out.
Right.
And now they can't afford to stay in that house, and the house is damaged.
Yeah.
So it's a teardown.
It's a whole thing. Like the whole. I mean, There's a reason I picked real estate and not insurance or mortgages. Honestly, like there is a reason I'm an agent.
I don't know. I often thought is which job is easier, or I don't know if easy is the right word.
I don't think it's easier. I think easier is not the right word. I don't think it's easier. I just think it's the way people's brain works and how they're successful.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
I'm not going to do the numbers. I'm sorry. Like I'll do the, small numbers, but I'm not going to do the mortgage numbers or the homeowner's insurance number. Like I'm not good at it.
Where's your business coming from today? You got eight in your pocket. You said, where'd some of those come from?
Referrals.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, referrals. I think I had how many transactions? Over 10 million in volume last year. I want to say it was like over 27 transactions that I closed or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have gotten a lot of referrals from those buyers. A lot. Also, husband building houses is very helpful.
Right. Well, I mean, of what percentage would you say is coming directly from him? I mean, because that's anyone. Let's go. Oh, her husband's doing it.
25%.
20. Yeah. Okay. So, what are some of those things? Again, I think this is an area where every salesperson could go back and say, I should have done it differently.
Yeah.
But learning early to create whatever your system is, whether it's a CRM, but you've got to set that program. This is where maybe marketing. Someone comes in, works on your marketing for a couple hours a week. I mean, there's people who will do that, and I can give you names for that too. But to stay on top of them, because like you said, these are mostly coming from referrals.
Yeah.
So it sounds like I would, maybe 25 is your husband, 25 is new, and 50% are probably referrals.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because it's not even just referrals from past customers. It's actually, I've gotten a lot of referrals recently from agents who are no longer practicing real estate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think one other area that agents could look for, and hopefully, tomorrow is a perfect example of that. You have to interact with other agents, whether it's going to the board for a training class, going to this Ricky Caruth, going to maybe a social lender's putting on, or title company or something like that, and actually interact with the other agents.
Yeah.
As you feel that was part of that,
Oh, for sure. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of houses, there are a lot of realtors, there are a lot of people, customers. I don't view other agents as a threat, if that makes sense. Like, we all provide our own services.
And you have your own circles.
Exactly. We have our own, like niche, I guess. And yeah, in our own circles. And I don't know, like I'll be friends with anybody and everybody, or acquaintances or whatever. Like I'm not looking at you or another agent as my enemy, and I don't get that. We all have to be able to work together, because at some point we're probably going to be on either end of the transaction together. Yeah. Like why? Yeah. Let's be cordial.
Yeah.
Let me learn something from you. I'll learn. I guarantee I can learn something from every single agent I come across. Just be,
and to be able to say, oh yeah, I met her a few weeks ago. I'm listing a house, and she sells a lot of houses in that neighborhood.
Exactly. Let me call her.
Yeah.
Right.
Collaboration is a word that, again, all the time, they don't see the other agents as competition.
Right.
And I think it's a little easier when you're on the side of when you are producing, to look back and say, oh, they're not, I've done well.
Right.
And I haven't felt like there's been some sort of competition or, from that standpoint, but just by collaborating with the other agents. But like you said, these other agents rolling out, people have used this settlement as an excuse to get out of the business. I don't think there's anything you guys are doing that is, I think it's really held you accountable to explain your value, the settlement, and these extra documents. Absolutely. The extra documents are actually just like cheat sheets for you to explain your value. Right. Having them, hey, I need you to sign this. This is the legal ramifications of it, blah, 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 blah. And this is, because I'm doing all this other stuff, this is what you got to do.
Yep.
And that just adds value to you.
There's no more lazy real estate.
Yeah.
And I do think that there are some agents prior to this whole settlement that genuinely just skated by, very lazy.
Right. Well, you did the cell phone pictures,
Yes.
didn't do anything extra. They could show, it's going to be the tail of the tape as the tide comes in on this, and it is almost at high tide, I think. Is those agents that did come in 19 and 2000 or 2020, I should say, 2020, where it was stick a sign in the yard, you had
Sold.
multiple offers.
Right.
But going back to the collaboration in agents on the other side, rates drop. We're in a hot area.
Yeah.
You may have. I imagine most of your really good homes do have multiple offers.
Absolutely.
Maybe not 20 like you had in 2020, but
3 or 4.
you have. Yeah, exactly. And now you're looking at it. I mean, how many times you look down? Every agent soon is like, well, who's the agent on the other side? Who am I working with?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that agent.
And
They're squared away.
Exactly. If I see a name I know, and I'm like, often if I'm with a buyer and I look at a listing and I see, the agent, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, hopefully we can, I know it's going to be an easy, great, not easy, but
Between
easy
you and them.
to deal with
Yeah.
transaction because I know this person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That person's going to be filtering their client, putting back at their client, hey, no, we can't ask for all that. Let's just ask for this. Yeah.
Yes.
Being realistic. And their buyer is actually been
vetted.
yes, very good. Vetted. Exactly.
Yeah.
They know their financials are
Right.
in order and they've done what they need to do by their reputation. So you go back to the marketing. What are you doing? Is it social media, your CRM? What are some standards that you have established? Again, imagine you're tweaking it all the time as you're adding people to it. But what do you think is do you have a set pattern every month? Hey, I'm sending out so many newsletters or whatever, postcards or whatever.
So I just started making my own newsletters. So like my first one went out October 1st. So I'll be doing that monthly now. Yeah. And that's, it's basic stuff on there.
One of the greatest tips I got on the newsletters, I think, is, and I'm going to give you this lady's name. I've had her on the show. This is what she does, and she actually newsletters is like Luke Christmas uses her.
Okay.
Is she sits down with you, and she's having a conversation with you, and then she personalized the email so there's a little bit of you in there.
Okay.
So that your people are actually getting more of a mindset that it is actually coming from you versus just something auto-generated.
Correct. Yes. So I'm definitely not doing any auto-generating.
Yeah.
Like at all.
There may be some articles in there. Everyone throws a little bit of fillers.
But I have like I have like an update on myself and my family or just things like that. I breed American bullies. So like the dogs. So like I have
American bullies? Bulldogs?
No, American bullies.
Bullies.
Yeah.
What is a bully?
It's like the
I'll have to Google that.
It's like the short, stocky, buff dog.
They get the extra skin lap.
No.
I'm gonna have to. I'll have to do that.
Yeah. But like I
You
am
breed
obsessed.
those.
Yeah. So my dog had a litter a little over 3 months ago. So like I have that included as well, like a little pup date. For people, because I'm a dog freak. So like, and I kind of want that I even said that to my husband.
Hey, sometimes people buying homes, they especially a new family, maybe they just this is their first home. They may just had their first kid. Now they're ready to get their first dog, right?
Exactly. And they're the best dogs ever. So like I want that to start being part of kind of my image per se. So like I'm kind of going through I think a marketing revamp at this current moment in time. But yeah, I definitely need to do a day every week for social media. There are definitely things that I need to get better on.
You got a YouTube channel? I didn't even look. Did you have a YouTube?
I do, but there's nothing on it. I have a YouTube channel, but I haven't posted anything. There's tons of private videos of virtual walkthroughs that you can only access with the link.
Yeah.
So
I think that's one of
the
there's two places I think are such the easiest things I think would get the greatest impact. You're not the only agent. I had lecture a lot of. One is have your LinkedIn squared away,
For
right?
sure.
You're not too far off. I would add your entertainment stuff in.
Why my
You could brush that up, and that's the thing people fear. But LinkedIn's a static thing.
Yeah.
It's it's there. Right now, if you want to post on LinkedIn, there are people that post their listings on LinkedIn and so forth. I would definitely post my luxury thing because people kind of think that LinkedIn's that kind of market.
That's true.
The executive market, right?
Right.
But you are shooting videos. You look great in your videos. You're going through your Instagram stuff. Actually, it makes you look shorter. Just want to let you know that.
Oh, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
I am. Well, I have heels on.
Well, when you walked in today, I was like, oh, you're about 6 inches taller than I thought you'd be.
The heels.
But you're shooting the videos already for the houses that you just got to tag them in there, and a little Canva create a little picture. But I think the most effective video, and I think you go and talk to some people that are killing it, like the Gallup group up there. They're big YouTubers.
Yeah, YouTube is a huge thing.
Yeah, your face being in there.
Yeah,
your face being part of the thumbnail.
Right.
That and then just the fact that people are searching. A house, they go up on Zillow and say, hey, I want to look at 123 Main Street. Well, you might have sold 124 Main Street.
Right.
It's going to, something's going to pop there.
Right.
And hopefully it's your video and you talking about it. But you being in entertainment, the super discounted is the fact they're already building that relationship with you. Like this guy in the Palm Coast guy, where's he live? Ohio. Like, I mean, have you actually met him personally? You haven't met him personally. Well,
one time.
Yeah, one time. But these people moving down, they're looking and they see you, and then they're able to build. They see who you are, so when they meet you, they know. Hey, this is it's huge. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'll give you all the assets from this,
Beautiful.
which you can cut even more reels out because I think again another underutilized asset. The comments that you make here talking about how you serve your clients are great for your website. And that's what people, you open a website. I mean, agree or disagree with me. And you see a video there.
You're going to click it.
Yeah. You're going to click it.
Without a doubt.
You want to hear someone talk and move and whatever.
Especially if it's like their face on their website, my face on what, I want to know what the video is about.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hopefully I'll give you these assets. And again, I know some people there too in the video world. They'll manage the YouTube site for you.
Right.
I don't know. Are you having someone shoot your video? You're shooting those yourself?
So I have somebody that can shoot them. Sometimes I just drag my husband around. Yeah. Because it's easy. Yeah. But,
well, it saves you too. You have
to
to schedule an appointment and all that.
Yeah, and it's free. Yeah. But I like the video I made for the reality show. Like I did that. I did all of it. So like it took me 5 hours, but it looks great. And I actually sometimes enjoy doing that. I don't know. That's where I get stuck. It's because I do need to delegate certain tasks for sure. But some of those tasks I really enjoy. But should I be spending my time on those? Probably not. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I think the thing is your entertainment, acting, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Like, I need to get better at it.
Because I can think of only a few people. I mean, a lot of people know Josh Rogers in town. He's shooting video all the time. He likes being in front of the camera. Yeah. He's putting out a lot of education on, everything in St. Johns County. The Gallup group, you want to look because they had a media kind of background, and they've got videos that got tens of thousands of views and still get referrals. When I had them on a couple months ago, they had a 2-year-old YouTube video that someone saw about talking about Fernandina Beach. Wow. And not enough people. Are you downtown St. Augustine? Is that where that's your home run? You'd be down there talking about it all the time because people are Googling. Well,
and it's interesting because there's tons of St. Augustine Instagrams, like tons. Yeah. But how many like YouTube videos that are actually like genuine, this is what it looks like. Right. Not drone.
Well, I think the other part that Josh is successful as because he's consistent, and in the Gallup group, that's actually their marketing thing. They like shooting the video, so they're consistent. You do get a lot of flashes in the pan,
right?
Where people will start doing it. You're like, oh, someone else is doing it. Trust me.
They don't continue.
It's kind of like podcasting.
Right. Correct. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I find it interesting when someone doesn't call me about starting a podcast and they start it, and I go, okay, we'll see how many you last.
It's 6, like the magic number.
Yeah, because I spent the money to hire a coach.
Right.
I learned about it before I actually did it, and it's paid off. It's actually connected me with a lot of people in the industry, but truly understanding what you're actually doing, and you've got to have a continuous content.
You do.
And yeah, it's well, I mean, I talk to realtors to the end of time.
Right.
There's enough of you out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do enough a week to be able to knock you all out in 10 years.
That's true.
Yeah. So you have to think forward
Right.
like that. But I think they're going to go to video. Just be consistent with it. And YouTube is totally underutilized.
It is I agree.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that started, stopped, where you're doing fresh stuff.
That's true.
Because I think, it totally makes sense from the standpoint of YouTube. The videos that are going to pop up when someone does their search is videos that are being watched.
Right.
Not necessarily like today, but maybe they're just watched last week.
Yeah.
Right. Because I guarantee when your stuff goes out from the show is out, let's see, what's today? Monday? Go out on Friday. You Google yourself, I guarantee on Saturday, this will be right there.
Probably.
If no one watches it for a long time, like I'll go back to people I did 2 years ago, it's maybe dropped off. So I try to obviously reignite it again, but it'll be in a drop down when someone actually Googles or YouTubes your name, your video.
Cool.
It's be there. So
YouTube. Know what I'm doing the rest of the day.
All right, let's finish up. Here's a tough question. What 3 things must real estate agents be doing right now in their business in the current market? You obviously are doing something right with
number one, transparency. Like just transparency with any and every party that you're working with. Like I am very transparent with every single customer, and that kind of it's the transparency thing. It like is different depending on who the customer is. I guess like I'm an open book. Period. No matter what. You ask me a question, I'll give you the answer straight up. If I don't know the answer, I'll find out the answer. But I think that's what I mean by transparency is just giving them every single piece of information that you possibly can, that they ask for.
So just to give some color to that, transparent meaning you are taking the time to say, oh, hey, by the way, I've done this for you today.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Or saying, hey, like with an offer, the sellers are not going to take that offer. Like being totally transparent. I know that the sellers are not going to take this offer. That's $30,000 or $50,000 under asking.
Right.
Not going to happen. What else can we do? And sometimes people don't like that. But I tell everybody the first time we meet, I'm very blunt.
They may not even respond, right?
Right.
They don't have to respond.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I say I'm very blunt. I'm very honest. Enjoy.
Yeah.
That's the best that I can do. So
that's I always thought because in your little gift bag there's a nice notebook.
Ooh.
I don't know if you're a note taker, but
yes.
The bank has provided a nice notebook for you. Or there, I think every agent should write down everything they do, just like a lawyer does. Every time they talk to you, they're charting. Hey, I talked to her for 15 minutes about
blank.
Whatever. Yeah. They called me at 10 o'clock at night.
I usually add that into my KW command app.
Yeah, right. You should be tracking all that. But I think that's a brilliant to be transparent. Remind them of what you're doing. Continue to, even though they may have heard you talk about it at the beginning, it might be weeks later, months later, you're actually in the transaction. This is what I did for you today.
Correct.
Let you know that hey, you're thinking about them.
Right.
Which kind of you're already having a conversation with, but maybe it's just an email, right? Or a text message. Hey, I just want to let you know this was taken care of today.
It's just a quick text.
Hey, exactly. That type of thing. All right. Transparency. Great one there. What else? Communicate
with everybody, every single party involved. Communicate with the title company, communicate with the lender, communicate with the customer.
How often in a 30, 45 day transaction are you touching?
So like if we go under contract, I talk to the title company first thing.
Getting things going.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I'll check in the following week, check in the second week, and then going into the third week, probably every 2 days.
Do you have a go-to title company?
I do.
Are you using inside of Keller Williams their recommended thing, or are you outside?
Outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some DJ and Lindsay kind of work with? No. Some
DJ and Lindsay have their own title company.
Right. Okay. All right. Communication with all parties involved on a somewhat regular basis, maybe every couple. We're just sending out along a transaction.
Regular basis. What's going on? Has to do with the timeline, like what's realistic for the timeline.
No, it's all right. It's just on time. Keep going. All right. So communication. What's the third thing?
Third thing. Have fun. Enjoy what you're doing. Like, just I don't know. If you're enjoying your work, you're working, but like it's more fun. You don't hate every
I'm
portion
I'm
of
in the
it.
middle of writing this talk. I've got a coach there to go around and speak, and we've got to create this 30-minute speak.
Mm.
My actual thing, and I'm thinking about changing it because I was watching some TEDx talks, and grit wasn't, you used grit earlier, but my theme phrase was you got to form your LLC.
Yeah.
And it's not the limited liability corporation because
Okay.
that's the reaction I want out of the fans, right? Out of
Right.
the audience was like, my LLC, are we talking about? And it's really, your C is consistency.
Okay.
At the bottom line of everything, you gotta, but you've gotta love what you do.
Yeah, you do.
Right? You've gotta love what you do, and I think you and I probably, well, because I'm much older than you, have been through different places than you have, but you went through some different things to find something that clicked with you.
Yeah.
And it's important
It is.
that you do. And I'm sure there's parts of your things that you do that you don't like doing.
I mean, that's life.
Yeah, that's life. But now you're at a point where you're because you're really good at whatever if it's the being the face, having the conversations, being transparent and communicating, you're killing it there. So you're getting enough business. There's this other stuff now, because I guarantee the first thing Russell does is sits down with you and say, let's list out the things you like doing and list out the things you don't like doing. And let's take those off, because the more joy he can add in your life, it's hopefully going to add more to your production.
And that's seriously what Keller Williams is about, at least my office. They want to make sure that you are thriving. So the number one thing I would say would be love. Have fun, love what you're doing, or try to love what you're doing. If you don't love it, don't be in real estate.
Yeah.
Genuinely, don't. I have a passion for it, a true passion. And not everybody does, and that's okay. But at least try to just have some fun.
The great thing about today versus the 70s or even 80s, I mean, if you think about it, with the technology and the internet, there are so many different things that you can do today. I was thinking about, if I wasn't married and didn't have kids. Have you ever watched that show Tracker?
Yes.
I just started
watching it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, because a new episode came out, and I was watching it on Paramount. I was purging it.
I've seen one episode.
And going through 2 or 3 episodes, and I'm like, yeah, dude, can you imagine just driving around a big pickup truck in a Airstream trailer and going all around the country?
Yeah, right.
As long as there's internet, you can work.
Right.
If that's what you want to do, find what you can do. There's a service you can provide. You can be a transaction coordinator.
You can.
Or virtual assistants. Obviously, a lot of virtual assistants are in the Philippines.
Yes,
obviously,
my husband's is.
Yeah, they're on the other side of the earth, and they're doing it. And that's the ability of today.
Right.
And I think you've got to find what you love doing. Life is unfortunately too short.
It is too short.
And you're going to be miserable. Take a few swings, a few step backs, and find the thing that you love doing.
Brings you life.
Yeah. You've got to wake up in the morning and say, I'm looking forward to this happening today. Or maybe it's getting up in the morning, thank God this is closing today. I already got a few more hours to go.
Yes, that has been a thing a couple times.
That happens. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Is there anything else you'd like to add that we didn't talk about?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to keep tabs on how you're doing and progressing down there.
Perfect.
I like what Russell's doing. I like his whole mindset, and obviously his expansion to cover the Daytona office only is a what do you call it, endorsement of what he's doing.
If you're looking to join a brokerage, and I will say Keller Williams, even for a new agent, is great because you have people like Russell behind you and making sure that you're going in the right path. Yeah, for sure.
You've got to search out, but if you're a new agent looking on, would you be? If someone called you and said, "Hey, I'm a new agent. I'm looking. Tell me a little bit about DJ and Lindsay. Tell me a little bit about Keller Williams, and share your experiences."
I would give them. Seriously, call me.
Have a cup of coffee, take her out to lunch, whatever it is, and sit down. I think it's so important. I think they talk to the broker. Who's telling them everything's great. They got great education, and they're what's the other thing I always say? Everyone always has great technology and great education. Okay, well, what that actually
What does that
means to
mean?
you
Exactly.
is different depending on the
Yeah.
brokerage. And trust me, every brokerage is a little. I know Keller Williams has worked hard on their technology. Over the last 5, it's taken them some
Really,
years
right.
to finally what was supposed to come out years ago is there.
More
But
recent, yeah.
but that is a big part of the business and making it easy for
Yeah.
it. But the having that broker or mentors in the
Mentors.
orders, those other agents who are doing it that you can reach out and touch
Exactly.
sometimes is important in the
Yeah.
office. Yeah. Bailey, appreciate you coming on.
Thanks so much.
Thank
for having
you.
me.